Jimmy Butler is about to get traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves, or at least he might be about to tell the Minnesota Timberwolves that he wants out, as reports came out yesterday saying Minnesota All-Star Jimmy Butler has begun to seriously contemplate his future with the franchise. Butler and Thibodeau will meet on Monday, and most of the times we get reports about a disgruntled NBA player being set to meet with upper management. It can only mean one thing, and seeing as to how he can opt out of his contract and become an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2019, this will force the Wolves to do either one of two things. Either trying to convince Jimmy Butler to stay by offering to fix any of the problems that he has with the team right now, which won't be easy and will also be very risky, or they could simply trade Jimmy Butler before they lose him for nothing in about a year, which is the more logical move to make. And of course, this is unfortunate for Minnesota considering how much they had to trade to the Chicago Bulls in order to get Jimmy Butler. And indeed, with reports coming out that the Wolves owner is losing faith in Tom Thibodeau and questioning the culture that he's building in Minnesota, if they are forced to trade Butler, it would most likely mean that Tibbs is going to get fired. And I can't honestly say that's a bad thing since he's clearly been trying to recreate the Chicago Bulls from back in the 2010 era. And as far as Wiggins, Towns, and the rest of the Wolves go, it's hard to say what the plan for them next would be. I guess it would largely depend on the trade package that they get in return for Jimmy Butler. The good news though is that with Thibodeau out of the picture, maybe Karl Anthony Towns will be less hesitant to sign that contract extension that he and the Wolves have been working on. But anyways, back to the idea of trading away Jimmy Butler, because while I know a lot of fans out there are already imagining and coming up with ways that their favorite team could land Butler in a trade, I do have to say that I don't think there are many teams out there that should take the risk of trading for Jimmy Butler right now, since it's clear that this guy is in win now mode. That's all he cares about. He wants to be competing for a championship, to be on a team that he doesn't have to try and carry to the NBA playoffs just to make the AC. A team that he can be on that he feels with him added to their roster can take that next step and become one of the NBA's true elites. That's what all the reports that came out over the course of last season and throughout the summer so far have pointed to, with Butler requesting that Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins get serious and get a lot better real quick, and also that he is fed up with the young players on the Wolves after they didn't get a lot better extremely quickly. Man doesn't want to waste the best years of his career since he is already 29 years old, mentoring some younger players. And that is why, even though it would make sense for a team like the Suns to trade for Butler to try and make the playoffs to make Devin Booker happy, I would probably steer clear of that if I were Phoenix, since the odds of him staying there long term are extremely slim. However, there have already been a few more teams rumored to have interest in Jimmy Butler that I think would make a lot of sense, and those are the teams that we're going to be taking a look at today. And the first team is the Toronto Raptors, and they make a heck of a lot of sense if you ask me. We already know that this summer they rolled the dice by trading away their franchise player for Kawhi Leonard, who is also an expiring contract, and their hope is that they can convince Kawhi to stay long term, of course, but if not, they're just gonna have to start rebuilding, which is fine, since realistically they knew that with DeRozan and Lowry they were never going to be able to win a championship regardless, meaning that they would still eventually have to rebuild, but it would just be delayed. However, trading for Kawhi at least gives them a shot to avoid that process. And then if you were to add Jimmy Butler to the mix as well, then not only do you increase the odds of making it to the NBA Finals this upcoming season, but you also increase the odds of keeping Kawhi Leonard long term. And if Kawhi stays, the odds are that Jimmy Butler would then too seriously consider staying, giving them a core of Lowry, Kawhi, and Butler for the foreseeable future, as well as still having one of, if not the deepest bench in the league too, which brings us to the price that the Toronto Raptors would have to pay in order to get Jimmy Butler. And the rumored trade package would include something along the lines of OG Anunoby, Serge Ibaka, and a future first-round draft pick, which brings us to the problem with this trade for the Toronto Raptors. And that problem is, if Kawhi does leave in free agency, then the backup plan of rebuilding will be even harder to do, since they would have given up one of their young young prospect that could have been a key to their future in OG Anunoby, and gave up a first-round draft pick as well, which obviously wouldn't be good for rebuilding purposes. That being said, the Raptors have already proven that they're all in right now after they made that trade for Kawhi Leonard. And then remember, after they traded for Kawhi Leonard, their GM came out and said that they're not done yet, that if another player makes himself available on the trade market that they feel could help them long term, they're gonna go after that player. The next team that is rumored to have interest in Jimmy Butler, though, is the Philadelphia 76ers. And this also makes a lot of sense. See, while Philly does have young players in Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, and Ben Simmons that still need to develop, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are already at a level where you can build a championship caliber team around them. So it's not like it'll be the same thing as if Butler was still playing alongside Towns and Wiggins. And as for Philly, they struck out 3 times this offseason. They went in with a goal of adding an elite level wing player who could score the ball, make plays, and defend. And of course, they were targeting Paul George, LeBron James, or Kawhi Leonard via trade. And you know, they didn't get any of them, which kind of killed off a lot of the hype the Sixers had headed into the season, since they will still be a really good team, top 3 in the East most likely, but with Boston coming back healthy next year, along with the further development of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and the Raptors replacing DeRozan with Leonard, it's hard to imagine the Sixers being able to beat those teams to make it to the NBA Finals. But if you add Jimmy Butler to the equation though, all of that completely changes, since he does give them that elite wing that they have been looking for. And you'd have to imagine that Butler would give serious thought to re-signing with Philly over the offseason, seeing as to how Embiid, Simmons, and Fultz will only be getting better and better over time, and that he could potentially win a ring with them. And as far as the trade package or the rumored trade package for Philadelphia goes, it will cost them Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and Mike Muscala for contract reasons. And as far as trades go, this one seems like a no-brainer. If the Philadelphia 76ers have the opportunity to make this trade, they should do it. And that leads us to the last team on this list, the New York Knicks. And I'm just gonna come right out and say it, they'd have to give up Frank Ntilikina and Courtney Lee, maybe some future draft picks as well. And see, unlike both the Raptors and the Sixers, the Knicks wouldn't be making this move in an attempt to try and win right now, clearly. But instead, this would be a move with next season and off season in mind. We already know that the Knicks are going to be going hard after Kyrie Irving next summer, and that there have been rumblings of Irving and Butler looking to team up somewhere in the Eastern Conference to form a powerhouse, and that somewhere would most likely be New York, given that they would have a super team of Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Knox, and Kristaps Porzingis. And the Knicks could go after Butler right now to kind of increase their odds of that happening, rather than risk him getting traded somewhere else like Toronto or Philly and have Butler ending up liking it there and staying long term, kind of like how Paul George did after he was traded to OKC. So if you think about it, the Knicks are essentially the Lakers of next offseason. And I do have to say that I think Jimmy Butler is exactly the type of player that David Fizdale would love to coach, and I think that David Fizdale is exactly the type of coach that Jimmy Butler would like to have. So the fit is for sure there. Now it just depends on how sure the Knicks are that they'd be able to convince Kyrie Irving to leave the great thing that he has going with the Boston Celtics already. But that's it. Those are the teams that are rumored to have interest in adding Jimmy Butler to their roster. Should it become available in trade that make the most sense to me? Be sure to let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. Do you agree with any of these teams, or is there another team out there that you think makes even more sense? Like I said, let me know down in the comment section below. But that is gonna do it for me today though, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with everything that goes on in the NBA. Thank you once again for watching. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, and until next time, I am out of here. Peace.